My name is Aimee Marchese. Classical homocystinuria can be very frustrating for families and for people diagnosed with classical homocystinuria. But everybody takes their time to process the diagnosis. And when you do process it and you start to accept it, my biggest advice, and that I would encourage people to do, is listen to your doctors, yes. But if you have a gut instinct that something might help you, even if it might seem a little off the beaten path, give it a shot, because what do you have to lose? Try it for 2 weeks, try it for a month. When I started to do some of my own things, that's when I started to see some progress. I was angry for a lot of years. Being diagnosed at 8, when I had already gotten used to eating steak and all the wonderful meat there is out there, to going to this plastic tasting cheese and being limited to 5 grams a day. I was not okay with it. I was already taller than my teachers, so I was definitely taller than my classmates, and I felt like I was ostracized for it. It caused some learning disabilities, and even my food at school, people could point it out immediately that something was not right. And then on top of having my whole world flipped upside down, you have the shakes and you have the betaine and the pills, some of which you have to take 3 times a day, and it's like this constant poking saying, you're different, you're different, you're different. And the school system is hard for any kid. So to be further made to feel different and this constant reminder was extremely angering. I fought it for a long time, for different varying degrees, but it really wasn't until COVID when I had the chance to sort of slow down and re-examine life. My husband and I had just gotten engaged, and when we got married, talking about a family was no longer something that was, it wasn't a hypothetical anymore. This is real. This is somebody, I have a partner now that's going to be there to support me, and we're going to make a family. I can't just say it's hypothetical anymore. I can't live with my levels being really high. I'm putting myself at risk. I'm putting our chances of a family at risk. And that's not what he signed on for, and it's not the future that I want. I'm no longer at a point where I'm telling myself I'm okay with dying young because I'm going to eat what I want and I'll die happy. I am scared of anything happening because I waited so long. All I can do is try and be preventative at this point. A day in the life for someone with classical homocystinuria, at least for me, is waking up usually around 7 o'clock in the morning. I've got my notes on the fridge of what I'm packing for lunch. It's usually a salad or some leftovers. And I always keep a box of shakes in the back of my car. I load it up in my purse when I'm walking into work, and I have them out on my desk. If I don't have them out on my desk, visible, then I'm going to forget it. And there's been times where I have, and then you're cramming your shakes in and they make me feel nauseous. So I've accepted part of it being that I'm open. I'm accepting of the community now. I don't care if my coworkers or my colleagues or the people I support know that I have this, because we all have our own struggles. So I'll take the shakes, I try to break it up, so I have 1 around breakfast, 1 around lunch, maybe 1 while I'm driving home, and then after dinner, right before I go to bed, is usually when I have another one. I feel the difference in my body if I don't try and keep to that. And for the days that life gets busy, if I don't have that protein, I feel the difference. I feel the difference in my thinking. I feel the difference in my energy.
My name's Anthony Marchese. I live in Rockville, Maryland.
My name is Aimee Marchese. I have classical homocystinuria.
I think it was a couple months into when we started talking and dating that I learned that Aimee had classical homocystinuria, but I didn't really understand what it was. It took probably several months and a lot of discussions for me to gain an understanding of what classical homocystinuria meant and what it may mean for us going forward.
When you start to think about planning a family, there's a lot of things to take into consideration, and I'm not going to say that I've considered all of them because we're still very early in the process. I think that having done with the Homocystinuria Network of America has been a huge resource for me, being that she is one of the successful patients that has had a baby. She's also connected me to a Facebook group for other patients with homocystinuria who are trying to get pregnant or have had kids. So just being able to put some messages in there has been really helpful. Dr. Chapman and my dietitian, Danny Starin, they've been hugely instrumental as well, because they've given me a path forward. They've let me know that, okay, so maybe you weren't perfect before, but you're still healthy, and give it a shot. They've given me parameters. You know, we're not going to even blink an eye about being concerned unless XYZ may happen, because we focus so much on having classical homocystinuria that there's a certain point that you become so honed in that you forget that you're just a woman, and there's going to be a lot of things that you are just like everybody else, and you need to take into consideration those statistics as well. So I've had to work really hard on getting my levels down. One of the big ways that I've done that, as horrible as it's been, is through keeping a food diary, so that I'm actually able to see what I'm bringing in. And in the beginning it was really hard, so I kept in pretty frequent touch with my dietitian. And Anthony was really helpful too. He's a great cook, so he'll help me prep my meals. When we're ordering food, he kind of lets me pick out a lot of the food, because he needs to make sure that if we're going out somewhere, we're ordering, there's going to be options, and he learns what those options are. Another big thing is to make sure that you have a good team of, or at least identify who a good gynecologist is, and know that your doctors know what you're planning, if possible, so that they can start to connect with special neonatal doctors to be part of your team, because depending on whether you're a carrier or not is going to depend on if you and your husband are a carrier, it's going to depend on how they approach your pregnancy altogether. We had to work through some periods of fear. There's a lot of things to be worked out in your head. I think one of the biggest things is all of the what ifs. What if X, Y, and Z happens? Because there are so much, we're going to naturally be a high-risk pregnancy, and everything that comes with that, in addition to all the challenges of a normal pregnancy. And I think just stepping back and being like, okay, put the what ifs aside, let's focus on the positives. I'm a strong believer in you get what you put out. And that's actually been a big part of my whole journey. Going from being that angry child to now has been a big proponent, has been trying to rephrase in my head, okay, this sucks. How do we make this sound better in my head? And that's changed my perspective on life in general. And when you feel scared, reach out to your doctors. Find out what the plan is going to be looking like. Find out who those doctors are, so that you don't feel like it's just you, or it's just you and your partner.